Hey guys, I'm Raquel Lily, and today we are going to be talking about how to play guitar and how to play some simple chords to get you on your guitar learning journey. The song we're going to be practicing today is Twist and Shout by the Beatles, and let's get started. So Twist and Shout is primarily 3 chords. It's D, G, and A. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how to read a chord diagram so you know exactly where to place your fingers on the fretboard. So looking over at the chord diagram for D, if you're confused as to how to read this, all you have to do is basically look at the neck of your guitar, and if you turn your guitar upright, you can see that there is a parallel to this section or whatever section they're showing you, depending on what fret they're sitting at and how it correlates to the chord chart. It's a literal interpretation of the fretboard, but just turned upright. So once you get used to looking at the fretboard sideways and reading the chord chart as such, everything becomes much easier. So looking at the chord chart, you have X's and these O's, and the X's basically mean you are omitting those strings that the X's are sitting on top of. And the O next to it means that you're playing an open string, meaning you don't have to put any fingers on the fretboard. So all the O means is that you're strumming it out with the fingering that you place on the fretboard. So the D chord looks like this. If you see 1, 3, and 2, those are just correlating to your fingers. Your pointed finger is number 1, your middle finger is number 2, your ring finger is number 3, and your pinky is number 4. And actually, your 5th finger is your thumb. We're not going to be using that on the beginning tutorial. However, I do need you to remember these because these chord charts will tell you exactly where to place what finger on what fret. The open D chord goes like this. So you take your first finger and you place it on the G string on the 2nd fret, which the diagram is denoting number 1 on the 2nd fret, and then you take your 2nd finger, which is your middle finger, and you place it on the high E string, also on the 2nd fret, and then you're going to take your ring finger, which is your 3rd finger, and place it on the 3rd fret on the B string. So looking at the diagram, again, the O means it's an open string, and you're going to play it along with the chord and the fingering that you have on the fretboard, and the D chord sounds like this. Nice and clean. Also, another thing, you want to make sure you are using the tips of your fingers when you're playing the chord. So placing your fingers like this, using the tips of your fingers and not the meat of your finger. Because if you're using the meat of your finger like this, which might feel a little more natural, especially if you're a beginner, you're going to get a lot of string buzz, and you want to be able to clear the chords. So using your fingertips ensures that you're using as little surface area on your fingers as possible, yet you're pushing down on the individual notes that you need to be pushing down on. All right, so let's go on and move to the G chord. It's the same concept. You're looking at the chord diagram as if your neck or your fretboard is upright. You're just turning it sideways. Nothing crazy here. And if you notice on the chord diagram, all the strings are being played. So G chord is nice and full because you're playing all 6 strings. So now you just have to be mindful of which fingers to use on where. So you're going to take your first finger, place it on the A string on the 2nd fret, your middle finger, and place it on the E string on the 3rd fret, and then you're going to move all the way down to the B string, place it on the 3rd fret, and then you're going to complete it with your 4th finger, which is your pinky, put it right underneath your ring finger, and that completes the G chord, just like this. Another thing to note is some diagrams will tell you to omit this 3rd finger, your ring finger, which the G chord will then sound like this, which is just fine, but this is also correct. Next, we're going to be playing the A chord, which is really simple because you're really just stacking your last 3 fingers, or your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky finger. Or you could use 1, 2, and 3. And how I play it is I use 2, 3, and 4 like this. So all you're going to do is you're going to take your pinky finger, your ring finger, and your middle finger, and you're placing them all on the 2nd fret on the D, G, and B string. So the only string you're not playing is the top string, which is your low E, and that's the A chord. Okay, so moving on to the song, now that you know all the chords, here is the verse to Twist and Shout. And you could play with your fingers, which is what I prefer, or you could use a guitar pick. Okay, nice and simple. You're gonna put all the chords together, and of course, it's gonna take a little bit of practice for you to be able to switch to and from the chords. So make sure you take the time to build that muscle memory, practice every day, and make sure that this is in your chord vocabulary. Because you are building this vocabulary as you're learning chord shapes, structures, notes on the fretboard, etc. Okay, so the strumming pattern goes, or, I mean, there's so many ways to strum, but I'm going to show you how I do it. You could choose either all down strokes, and I kind of do a pause, so it's D, D, pause, G, G, A, And I'm kind of muting the strings with my palm, so. Or you could go up, down, so. Either way is correct. Whatever you feel is rhythmically comfortable for you, it really just depends on your technique and what feels right. The last thing you want to do is not be stiff, because if you're kind of just like, it just feels kind of unnatural. So if you do want to do the up down technique, you want to practice bending your wrists and having this continuous kind of flow to it. And that'll also help you keep time. Some additional chords I'd like to show you. Now that you know the simple D, G, and A chords, you could deviate from those and play dominant chords or 7 chords. And in the song Twist and Shout, they do consistently use the A7 in there just to spice things up. So a voicing of A7 that's really simple is here on the same placement as your A chord. So if you look at your A7 diagram, it's the same thing. You're just omitting a finger, and it's literally just your ring finger. You could just lift. So it's the same shape as the A chord, just like this, but you're lifting your middle finger. Or you could choose to move your fingers and use your first finger and your second finger and omit that middle string, just like this. So all that is you're adding the 7th to the chord. And that's what it sounds like. So I'll quickly play the verse for you guys just to show you rhythmically somewhat what it should sound like. Okay. Well, shake it up, baby, now. Shake it up, baby. Twist and there's that A7. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on. A7, baby, now. Come on, babe. Come on and work it on out. Work it on out. And that's it. That's how simple it is. Once you put all those elements together and you practice and you do this consistently, hopefully you guys are building that muscle memory. Very important for you to build that muscle memory, because that is the only way you're going to be able to switch from chord to chord without having to look at every single one of your fingers, making sure they're placed correctly on the fretboard. And building this muscle memory will help you prevent yourself from getting in the way between you and performing the music. Because if you're just focused on your fingers the whole time or how to execute these chords, then you sort of lose this connection with the music itself. So what you want to do to instill that in your brain is you just practice, practice, practice. So I'm going to play one of the verses omitting the A7, and you can see the difference between using the A7 and just using the regular A. I mean, it's almost pretty much the same, but if you want to spice things up and you want to add some vocabulary to your chord knowledge, absolutely play the A7 if you're feeling up to it. So here's just with D, G, A. Well, shake it up, baby, now. Shake it up, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, come on, baby, now. Come on, baby. It's the same thing practically. It's just you're not getting that transition right there. And it's just a clean A. Guys, I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you're just learning how to play guitar, congratulations. There is a long journey ahead of you, and I promise you, it never stops and it's always a lot of fun. And if you have any other suggestions as to what songs you would like to hear for us to tackle, please make sure you comment down below. If you enjoyed this content, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, guys, my name's Raquel Lily. See you guys later.